So what I'm trying to say is, in America, I'm not seen as American. In Korea, I'm not seen as Korean. But on paper, I'm a US citizen, and by heritage, I'm Korean. And you can be both. Hey guys, I wanted to just do a freestyle episode about what it was like growing up Korean American. When I tell people I'm Korean now, they're like, oh, BTS, Blackpink, Parasite. Wow, you're Korean, that's so cool, I love kimchi. Like, that's what I hear now. But when I was growing up in San Diego, Oceanside, California, that was not the case. I grew up in the 90s, and my mom told me, when I told her I was gonna make a video like this, and she's like, tell them the story about the kimbap. Kimbap is kind of it's a Korean sandwich, seaweed, rice, and it has vegetables and meats in it. And my mom used to make them for me for lunch, in like a lunchbox. And I remember taking it to school and being too afraid to open it because it smelled different. One time I brought them in maybe second grade, and a girl said, ew, you're eating sushi, and then she grabbed one and threw it across the hall. So since then, I would starve myself at lunch because I was too scared, or I would eat the free option. They had like a free option of a peanut butter jelly sandwich for kids whose parents didn't pack them lunch or didn't give them lunch money. So I was that girl eating the free food. And my mom said she realized that it was a problem when I used to come home, I used to run home and eat the rolls as fast as possible before my mom could see that I had just brought home the lunch. But she said one time when she picked me up, she noticed that my lunch was full and I didn't eat. And I said, oh, I wasn't hungry, but it kept happening. She noticed that I kept bringing them home. And she was like, oh, maybe I should just pack her a sandwich. And all I dreamed about was a lunch bowl. That was that for that food. And I remember getting made fun of a lot, saying my country ate dogs. People didn't know, they were like, wait, so are you Japanese or Chinese? Like, which one's Korea? People just didn't understand what Korea was. And I was always the different one. Where I grew up, it was primarily whites, Mexicans, black, there were a lot of Samoans, and Filipinos, and like, I think there was like 1 or 2 Koreans at my school. My class graduated with over 700 kids. I was always kind of the different one. There is this girl, when she called my name, she's like, Sarah June, and I told her, no, it's Sarah Jun. She's like, honey, we're in America. Whatever that's supposed to mean, I guess in America. And at that point I assumed, oh, like, we're in America, I guess, like, I need to conform, I need to just go with it. And where I grew up was also pretty Republican. I remember when I was in 5th grade, I was rallying for George Bush. Just not knowing. And the drama program, the theater program, and it was either that or like, there's a lot of like, the groups were kind of segregated, I guess, by like smart kids who were doing sports. We were also smart kids, gangs, and I didn't really know where I fit in. And I remember like my identity was something that I just didn't know where to go. And drama, the theater program, was the only place I really felt accepted, because I mean, I was good in school, I was good at math, I was really good at history, AP US history, woohoo! But I didn't really feel a part of any group, because the math, I was good at it, but I wasn't the best at it. Like, I was good at it from like knowing things, but like I wasn't naturally just so good at math. I wasn't really book smart about anything. I wasn't really that smart. I had good grades because I did everything and I memorized things, but to this day I don't really remember any of it. Like, what did I even learn? But I did learn how to deal with people who were haters. That's what I can say. I dealt with learning how to brush off things that were insensitive, because there was a lot. We did this play, Tea House of the August Moon, and looking back at it now, it's pretty racist. At that time, it wasn't. At that time, it was like cultural and fun, and there was a lot of making fun, and I thought, wow, like it's an Asian play, like let me audition, and I auditioned for it, and it was super exciting for me, not knowing that, you know, what they were doing was yellow face. But that's how I got into drama. So I don't blame anybody for being insensitive then, because at that time it wasn't. At that time everything was fine, and I was the different one. I was the one that spoke another language. I was the one that came from a culture that ate dogs. And by the way, there are other cultures that eat dogs. There are other cultures that eat cats in Europe. It's not just Koreans. And you have to not be insensitive. These traditions came from a period a long time ago when that was normal, when there wasn't food, when you had to eat something to survive. We can't push all of our American ideals on other cultures that have a deeper and longer history. We can try to influence, but we can never push our ideas. Just like when people are trying to push religion on you, it's like, I don't like it. I don't like being pushed, having things pushed on me. Not at all. So in America, people think I'm Korean. People are always like ogled by my Asianness and asking me where I'm from, and then I tell them I'm from California. In New York, I tell them I'm from California, and they're like, no, where are you really from? You mean my heritage? Because my heritage is Korean, but I'm American, and I appreciate my culture, but I'm American just like you. And then they're like, but you're not as American as me. I'm like, why? Because I'm not white? Because I'm not black? Because I look different than you? I always just, I want to let people know that you don't need to be white or black or whatever to be American. I get this thing a lot where people are like, oh, that's so sad. Your culture is so beautiful. You should really get back to it. Like, I'm like, what does that mean? And it's usually a male who does it. They're like, they want me to be like a subservient, nice Asian girl who's just like the pretty flower in the back. And I'm like, by the way, did you know Korean people are pretty opinionated? Did you know we just won an Oscar? It's really annoying to me when people try to do that to me. I'm a person. I'm American as you. But when I'm in Korea and I go out, they don't identify me as Korean. So what I'm trying to say is, in America, I'm not seen as American. In Korea, I'm not seen as Korean. But on paper, I'm a US citizen, and by heritage, I'm Korean, and you can be both. Growing up Korean in the States, man, I wish I was growing up in the US right now. Like, I wish I was 9 right now. Right now, when Korea is like super cool, we got cool makeup, we got cool artists, and I just want to let everybody know that Korea was not always thought of this way. They had to work hard to gain all this respect. Anyways, thank you for listening to me. I want to just say why I get defensive sometimes when people try to put me in a box. And I just need to let them know, like, because they don't know what it's actually like to grow up the way I did. And it's not racism that I got like African Americans, like blacks got. There's a totally different kind of racism that I experienced growing up, where I really had to fight for myself, where if I was too smart or good at something, it was because I was Asian. If I was really bad at something, it was because I was Asian. If I'm too loud, if I'm loud and opinionated, like, why don't you be more Asian? And I wonder about the kids growing up right now, the Korean kids growing up in America right now, how they're like, because they didn't go through what I went through. And it's not a bad thing. Every generation goes through their own things. But I hope they understand that we struggled. Like, I struggled a lot, and I didn't have other Asian people to relate to. And I didn't see anybody on TV like me. I couldn't share my food, and now little kids are dying for little pieces of seaweed. Like, I've seen it in New York City, those little streets, those bougie ass moms giving their kids kimchi and seaweed. And I look at that and I'm like, damn, that shit was the stuff that people threw on the floor when I brought to school. That was the stuff that I was made fun of. Times are changing, y'all. Go Parasite!